Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we have the top 5 WWE DVDs from 2006. We are trucking along here through this top 5 series. If you missed the previous episodes, make sure you check out that playlist, top 5 DVDs year to year. It's been really fun going through each year and checking out the top 5 DVDs. Make sure you drop a comment down below on some of your favorite DVDs from 2006. So if you guys aren't sure what DVDs were released each year, check out WrestlingDVDNetwork.com. They have, DVD release dates from every year. You could always search through each year and find out which DVDs were actually released year to year. So from 2006, I would say this was a pretty solid year for DVD releases. Let's get into this with number 5. Number 5, this was a pretty heavy documentary year as well. 2004, 5, 6, and 7, they released a lot of good documentaries. And I think that's what we're seeing on the tail end, 10, 12, 13 years later here in 2019. Not too many documentaries are released these days and kind of sucks. But we got a lot of good ones in 2006. So number 5, I'm going to go with McMahon. Mr. McMahon had a DVD set released for those of you that don't know. Only a 2-disc set. It's only got about 10 matches on it, but I thought this was a really good documentary set that highlights his youth, his early days, and then some good matches with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Shane McMahon, Hulk Hogan, and The Undertaker. This gets into mostly his WWE run itself, apart from the Family Man, but they do kind of go back and forth between that. They really highlight his announcing days and then becoming the promoter, and they get right into the Monday Night Wars and the birth of Mr. McMahon. So I would say this is a pretty solid DVD set. Number 4. Again, your list may be different from my list. Nothing is ever set in stone with these lists. These are my favorites, along with what I believe to be the best releases year to year. So, number 4, Brian Pillman, Loose Cannon. It sucked to see Pillman pass away so young, and I'm actually happy we got this DVD set when we did. I hope to see him go in the Hall of Fame one day as well. This is similar to the Mr. Perfect DVD. I think they go hand in hand together. Really good documentary set. They cover his football career fairly extensively. His days with Stampede Wrestling and WCW, ECW, and WWE. Then we get into some extra interviews and matches. The gun incident with Stone Cold. Matches with Lex Luger at Halloween Havoc. And then WWE stuff, which really wasn't that long. We have 97. Pretty much that was it with Pillman and WWE. We have a match from Ground Zero and Canadian Stampede and a couple matches from Raw. Pillman was fairly injured by the time he got to WWE. He got in a bad car wreck and eventually passed away October of 97. Number 3, one of my personal favorites. This is the one I wanted for so long. Found it fairly easily, and it's going to be the American Dream Dusty Rhodes story. This is just the standard DVD artwork with the 3-disc set. Some of you may have the I think the variant release where it has the big thick book release where you could play it and Dusty Rhodes talks to you. I'd always wanted to find that copy, but a lot of them don't work anymore. The batteries have worn out. But again, another great documentary highlighting the career of Dusty Rhodes and his upbringing. This is filled with more than 24 interviews, 15 matches that span Dusty's career from WCW, WWE, ECW, and AWA, and championship wrestling from Florida. We have championship matches with superstar Billy Graham, Harley Race, and Ric Flair, and more than 36 of Dusty's favorite interviews, promos, and vignettes. So we do get all the Common Man vignettes and a good portion of Dusty's WWE run from Survivor Series 1990, WrestleMania 6, SummerSlam, I think, 1990. So a lot of good Dusty Rhodes. Number 2. I think the previous year, the counterpart to this was also number 2. So I'm going to go with the Spectacular Legacy of the AWA. Again, another really outstanding documentary. This is another one. I said this for Mid-South, World Class. They could always, re-release a documentary on this, because this is fairly old. We're talking 2006 now. But this is a really good documentary. It's not a sad story, but it is pretty upsetting, to see how Vern was so stubborn there in the late 80s, early 90s there, and just pretty much let his company die because he didn't want to accept change. Wink, wink, Mr. McMahon in 2019. And then we have more than a dozen matches, never before released on DVD, with Hogan versus Mr. Sato and Hattori. We got Vern Gagne versus Baron Von Raschke. We have Vern Gagne and Mad Dog versus Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis, the East-West connection. Really, really good documentary. A lot of younger fans probably don't even know about the AWA, but it was a pretty good promotion there in the late 70s, early 80s. And we got matches going back from 1971 all the way through 1988 with the AWA World Class Unification match between Jerry Lawler and Kerry Von Erich. We also got Kurt Hennig and Nick Bockwinkel from 1988. Really good DVD set. So a couple honorable mentions before number 1. This was a year where we had several rare releases as well. So Raw Homecoming, Kane's Journey to Hell. We would see the Last Divas DVD for a long time. We also had the Greatest Managers DVD, Hulk Hogan's Ultimate Anthology, and the history of the WWE title. So, fairly good amount of releases there. So, my number 1 is going to be the Roddy Piper documentary, Born to Controversy. This is the 4-disc set, really rare release. So we got the story, the fights, the pits, and then a bonus disc, which I wouldn't really call a bonus disc because it's only like 11 and a half minutes long, which is kind of cheap considering it's a really rare release. But on the standard release, you do have, several, almost all the Piper's pits there. You got probably a good 24 Piper's pits. A lot of good matches there from Roddy Piper, from the WrestleMania 1 main event, Saturday night's main event, WrestleManias 2 and 3. You got the War to Settle the Score, cage matches versus Rick Rude, the Backlot Brawl with Goldust, Starrcade 96 versus Hogan, So Roddy Piper was he was like a territory wrestler in the early days, and he would go from Portland to Mid-Atlantic, Charlotte, and he was a journeyman until he finally settled in the WWE in the mid '80s. We also have a few matches from Portland wrestling on here. Starcade '83. Who could forget the dog collar match? Overall, it's a fantastic documentary. This would probably be number one on a lot of people's lists. It's born to controversy, the Roddy Piper story. So as always, guys, take some time, subscribe. Let me know your top 5 from 2006. We'll talk to you later. Peace.